By the turn of the 17th century A.D., John Dee, 1527 to 1609, had already returned from his travels abroad on the European continent, entertaining at the court of Rudolph II, Habsburg HRE, 1576 to 1612, in Bohemia, studying Torah with Judah Lo ben Bezalel, Maharal of Prague, 1512 to 1609, and summoning the Enochian angels with his scrying partner Edward Kelly, 1555 to 1597. His home and libraries having been ransacked and looted while he had been away, John Dee was likely not more equipped to process the news than would have been René Descartes that year, his 4th birthday. The Giordano Bruno, 1548 to 1600, was burned at the stake in Rome's Campo de' Fiori by the Catholic papacy for various charges of heresy. Bruno was a professed pantheist and believed in reincarnation, but because he also advocated that stars in the night sky are only distant suns like our own, that may possibly host planets of their own that house different forms of life than our own, his ritual cremation was seen as a kind of martyrdom for science. Again, the Catholic papacy of Vatican City and Rome was trying and failing to maintain the same powerful hegemony it had enjoyed throughout the dark ages of feudal Europe, rather than adapting to changing times. Having begun losing the many genius luminaries of the past century to old age and death, there was a definite feeling of empowerment and a tension over how this power would be released that could be palpably felt among the European peoples. The printing press had brought educational opportunities to former serfs and elevated many from the status of pages to tradecraft shop masters, while the discovery of the New World in the Americas had literally opened up a world of opportunities for people to explore and travel. The momentum of Undertow toward that later notion of manifest destiny was already tugging at the heartstrings of European imperialists in the mid-1550s. John Dee had made no mistake when, as a younger man of 28 years of age, he had invested his inherited stocks in the livery company of the City of London, called the Worshipful Company of Mercers, into the Muscovy Company, the first major English joint stock trading company, with outlines for foreign trade expansion, including military imperialism, in 1555. 1555 was also the year Nostradamus published Les Prophéties, a collection of his quatrain prophecies. By 1600, the darkness both John Dee and Nostradamus rightly foresaw had fallen across the face of Europe. In 1602, the Dutch East India Company was established by a nationalizing merger of competing trade corporations. The following year, Elizabeth I of England, 1533 to 1603, died. In 1605, the gunpowder plot against the English Parliament was planned, but foiled before it could be executed. In 1607, Jamestown, Virginia was settled as the first permanent English colony in North America. Clearly, a new age of competitive imperialism was begun. In around 1609 A.D., John Dee died as well. But just before this, in 1607 or so, a strange event occurred, the first of what would later prove to be no fewer than 2 definitive manifestos appeared in Germany, having been published and distributed presumably through the same publishers, again in Louvain, modern Belgium. They distributed the 1609 edition of the Heinrich Kunrath of Hamburg, 1560 to 1605 work, The Alchemist's Lab. The first 2 RC manifestos are strange enough on their own, but the third manifesto, The Chemical Wedding, complicates matters further, its having been published anonymously initially, and later claimed as his own ludibrium by Johann Valentin André, 1586 to 1654, a plausible enough claim, though possibly dubious nevertheless. The chemical wedding includes John Dee's unique Monas Hieroglyphica symbol in its invitation opening narrative. In 1611 AD, the first editions of the King James Bible rolled off of Gutenberg printing presses and were distributed to Anglican churches. The first complete copies of the Bible in English, rather than Church Latin, opened up whole new worlds to the minds of apt pupils, ever eager to digest more. But this new empowering liberation of the working class minds did not arrive without taking a toll in return. In 1618, the Bohemian Protestant revolt, following the defenestration of Prague, led to the 30 Years' War, lasting from 1618 to 1648, in which the office of the HRE struggled to maintain its relevance in increasingly modernizing times. Emperor Ferdinand II's early defeat of the Bohemian rebels in the 1620 Battle of the White Mountain occurred simultaneously to the Puritan Brownist pilgrims arriving at Plymouth Rock in Cape Cod on the Mayflower. But those seeking to escape oppression from the continental European and mainland Asian empires were to find little opportunity to relax in these new American colonies. In 1622, Algonquin natives killed 347 English settlers outside Jamestown, Virginia, 1/3 of the colony's population, and burned the Heinrichs settlement. However, instead of withdrawing colonizing troops from America entirely, the apparent and immediate result of the Algonquin raids was that the Dutch West India Company founded New Amsterdam in 1625. In 1626, construction on St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, Rome, Italy, was declared officially completed. In 1631, Mount Vesuvius in Campania, Italy, erupted, and in 1633, Galileo Galilei, 1564 to 1642, Italian astronomer, arrived in Rome for his trial before the Inquisition. Ultimately, by the end of the 17th century AD, a truly new world order had begun to take shape in the philosophies of commoners as, in 1649, King Charles I of England was executed for treason against the public parliament. Were it not for such events as this having happened in prior history, then Denis Diderot, 1713 to 1784, could not have posited that mankind will never be free until the last king is strangled with the entrails of the last priest. The 17th century ended with the Salem, Massachusetts witch trials, 1692.